Pennies are something that many people take for granted. After all, they're the least valuable form of American currency, and you can find them practically everywhere, from couch cushions to the grocery store parking lot. Heck, you've also likely already heard that it costs more than a penny to make a penny. Clearly, it's time we found a new use for these silly copper-coated coins. Fortunately, that's exactly what one genius decided to do. And it all started when she purposely threw thousands upon thousands of pennies right onto her floor. The ordinary penny is usually something we all overlook, especially in the days of Apple Pay and credit cards. Even in a coin jar, it's the currency we most often simply leave behind. But there is one woman who knows exactly how to put her pennies to work. Die enthusiast Tanya Tuners took to Ember to share an amazing penny project that people are positively loving. To begin her work, she gathered as many of the copper coins together as she could, and got started placing them in a special design on the floor. For her project, she used about 13,000 pennies, or $130 worth. She also said she employed 10 bottles of Elmer's glue, some grout I found in my basement, and some damn expensive epoxy, $150, a tub of wood filler because plywood is holy and pennies are small, and a few pieces of wood. The finished product, as you'll soon see, was literally worth every penny. Tanya started by measuring the area and locating the precise center of the floor. After that, she drew an axis to use as a guide and glued pennies to the floor to form the shape of a diamond. Next, it was important to let everything dry so she could glue the next set of pennies in place without the whole thing sliding. When you look at Tanya's design up close, you can see how the pennies really transformed this floor. It was turning into such a unique look, wasn't it? You can really appreciate just how much time and effort went into turning this space into something special. Working toward the second corner, Tanya wrote, "You can see my bowls of sorted pennies. The big silver bowl in the back are the ones that were in the gray area between shiny and dark. I later used those too. Talk about an attention to detail." Tanya did have some tricks up her sleeve to make it look more consistent. "Here's where I started realizing that there were not going to be enough dark pennies," she explained. "Bought some liver of sulfur to turn them a blue-purple-black color. Since there was suddenly a new shade, I had to go back through the pennies I had already laid and pry up some of the naturally tarnished ones and replace them." By the time that Tanya was ready to work on the final corner of the room, the whole project was really starting to come together. It must have been exhausting. "Here I have our super cushy standing desk mat for Lane," she joked. Eventually, with all the pennies in place, Tanya was able to add the finishing layer of epoxy. How beautiful does this look now that the shiny layer was applied? After all of that work, it must have felt quite incredible to walk around this gorgeously finished floor. Besides grout and epoxy, Tanya was also careful about alternating between the heads and tails sides of each penny in order to give the pattern a nice sense of visual contrast. It must have required a lot of focus, but it was worth it. "You can see the pennies alternate heads, tails, and all face the same direction because I'm crazy and I hate myself," Tanya joked. She may be a perfectionist, but she really ought to be proud of herself for her magnificent work. There's no shortage of things you can do when you're creative enough. Maybe Tanya will start a new trend in interior design.